When looking at the structure of alcohols, we can use that structure to determine physical and chemical properties. We had classified carbons in a hydrocarbon based off how many other substituted groups were bonded to a specific carbon. And that helped us to predict and determine the reactivity for that carbon. The same process applies to alcohols. The specific carbon we're going to be looking at in our alcohols is the carbon that is directly bonded to the hydroxyl group. We are going to call that the alcohol carbon. With our primary alcohols, the alcohol carbon is the carbon that's directly bonded to that hydroxyl group. We want to look at how substituted that carbon is going to be. As we had done with our carbon classification with our hydrocarbons, we want to look at what else is bonded to the carbon we are investigating, so the alcohol carbon. If there is one other group bonded, that is going to be our primary alcohol. Our secondary alcohol, again, looking specifically at the carbon that has the hydroxyl group, we want to see how many other groups or substituted positions there are. If it has two substituted positions or just one bonded hydrogen, this is going to be a secondary alcohol. Lastly, looking at a carbon that's going to have three groups bonded to it, no hydrogens bonded to it, gives us a tertiary alcohol. Unlike our hydrocarbons, where a carbon can be classified as a quaternary carbon, this does not work for alcohols because one of those positions is going to be occupied by the hydroxyl group. So classification of alcohols ends at tertiary. Based on alcohol classification, we can make some predictions on physical properties for these alcohols. In general, the more substituted carbons, therefore going from a primary to a secondary to a tertiary alcohol, decreases the effectiveness of the intramolecular hydrogen bonding. So hydrogen bonding between the same molecules, not with water. Here we have three constitutional isomers of butanol. One butanol has a very distinct polar end and then a nonpolar end. And if you look, the polar end has those dark, isolated red and blue colors. Red represents the control over electrons. Blue is the loss of control over electrons. When we are looking at the attraction in this molecule, we are going to have hydrogen bonding between the polar groups of one molecule 1-butanol to another molecule of 1-butanol. Because it has that nonpolar region, there's also going to be our London dispersion forces that are going to be occurring. This creates a much larger interaction between those molecules. As we go to 2-butanol, that red and blue polar end is a little bit more diffuse. It looks bigger, but they can't really interact as closely or as tightly as we saw with our primary alcohol. So we have a little bit of interaction that can occur in that polar group, but what we're lacking is the ability of the nonpolar areas to interact to create those dispersion forces, therefore weakening the attraction between the two molecules of 2-butanol. And then moving to 2-methyl-2-propanol, again, it looks very similar to the way that 2-butanol itself works. It has to be very specifically oriented in order for those hydrogen bonds to interact, but those nonpolar groups are not going to be able to maximize their dispersion forces. We can see this trend in the boiling point for these three separate molecules. 1-butanol has a boiling point of 117 degrees Celsius. 2-butanol has a boiling point of 99.5, and 2-methyl-2-propanol has a boiling point of 82.3 degrees Celsius. You do not need to know these numbers. I just want to use these to explain how the classification of the alcohol carbon can help us predict the energy needed to separate these molecules. Remember that boiling and melting point is the energy required to disrupt the intermolecular forces to allow them to separate. Therefore, when you have one butanol with both the polar group having its hydrogen bonding and the non-polar group with the dispersion bonding, think of it like Velcro. So I have two pieces of Velcro here. We have our polar end that is interacting and our non-polar end as well. And how much energy does it take to pull those two molecules apart? That is what we are measuring with our boiling melting point. So that is like one butanol. It's going to take a little bit more energy in which to pull or separate those molecules. Now as we change the surface area, they become more circular and less linear, or we're decreasing the surface area that can interact. They only have little spots where they can have those interactions of those intermolecular forces. So the energy required to pull them apart decreases. And the more and more spherical that shape becomes, the less energy is needed to put into separating those molecules. So that is how the classification from a primary, secondary to a tertiary alcohol can have a difference in their boiling or melting points. Solubility is going to increase as our classification of carbon also increases. What solubility is, as a reminder, is that the energy of a water molecule to interact preferentially with the polar groups of another molecule and surround it. So the water molecules need to surround or solvate around those alcohols. So as they become more spherical, the less energy is required to disrupt the intermolecular forces, and the easier it is to put those compounds into solution. So 1-butanol is classified as slightly soluble, 2-butanol is soluble, and 2-methyl-2-propanol is miscible. They all have the same number of carbons and hydrogens. They are isomers, but they are structured differently, which changes their interactions. And so that's how we can use alcohol classification to help us predict physical properties. As we saw with carbon classification in our hydrocarbons and how easy it is to react a carbon based off its classification, the same thing applies to our classification of our alcohols. It is about the accessibility of attacking or reacting with the carbon that has that functional group, so that hydroxyl group. In a primary carbon, that alcohol group is exposed. It is a lot easier for the attacking group, whatever reaction is going to be taking place, to have access to that carbon and oxygen, whether it's to break bonds or rearrange bonds, depending on the type of reaction. Whereas in a secondary alcohol, that carbon's a little bit more protected due to the two other groups we have around it. So it's going to be a little bit harder to attack that carbon. It's a little bit more stable. And then our tertiary alcohols, they're not as reactive. It takes a lot more in order for a group to come in and react with that carbon, because it's got to get around these other carbons that are surrounding it. So we can predict the reactivity of these alcohols based off the classification.